Meeting is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Would the Mayor of LaPorte please lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great.
Oh, Mary's taking care of that.
Okay. All right.
I'll go find. Yeah, Stephen, do you have the sign-in sheet? Can you grab the sign-in, public comment sheet?
You may be surprised to find my name on it.
And you?
Well,
welcome. That's all right. So I'm gonna start with the report of the vice chair, which is mostly the reading from my phone. Our chair, Michael Griffin, is not able to be here today, but he wanted me to let you know that that the report of the ad hoc task force, they communicated electronically, and there are early draft bylaws that have been circulated, and comments have been shared and are now being incorporated into the draft. It's hoped that after one more weekend, there will be an enrolled draft that the committee can review and then present to the full commission for its consideration. He had the high honor of representing NERC and welcoming the participants at the Metropolitan Planning Organization's meeting in Michigan City and at the Indiana State annual meeting. And so that's his report. And I have nothing to add to that. So the report of the executive director, that would be you.
That would be me. Thank you. First of all, I was following up on, Michael was kind enough to give an opening address at the NPO conference, as was just communicated, and he just did a phenomenal job. And the clerk treasurers are away on an event this week, so that's why none of the clerk treasurers are present. Otherwise, I'd thank Michael here, but he just did a phenomenal job representing you all before all the NPOs in Indiana, including INDOT folks and Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration. And also we had Mayor Muir gave a welcome for Michigan City, which was great. And also Rick Powers was one of our keynote speakers from INDOT and did a phenomenal job. So Matt, I don't know, is Rick planning to come today? He's not going to be here. Okay, if you can convey just my thanks again for doing that. It was really, really helpful. So great event, very well attended, and great responses from that. And again, can't thank staff enough for pulling off what was really a logistically challenging conference, with a bunch of mobile tours. I think we showed off our neck of the woods really, really well. Just earlier this week on Monday, I was on a panel for the Alliance for Regional Development, which is a 3-state economic development entity for Wisconsin and Illinois and Indiana, and was on a panel with my counterparts from CMAP and SEWRPAC, which is Southeast Wisconsin. And you almost would have to be there, but it was, it really communicated that regional collaboration is alive and well between those agencies and with our counterparts. I think it speaks really well for our neck of the woods, especially even compared to other national models of cooperation. Really, really positive. So I was glad to be able to represent NERC at that event. Next week, I will be at the Executive Directors Conference for the National Association of Regional Councils, and then Dave Schaefer and Jeff Benson will be at the board meeting that time as well. Jeff again acts as Senior Vice President-elect, thank you. So President-elect, which means he'll be representing you on the national level, which is great, because Dave did that in the past. So we'll be away for that next week, and we'll report back on what happens there. Lastly, just to remind you that we typically take November, because of the holidays, we do not meet in November, so the next meeting after this will be December 14th, which is not the third Thursday, because that would put us closer to Christmas and all. That's the second Thursday. That's our normal pattern, but just to remind you, that's the meeting schedule. So after this, we'll meet again at 9 o'clock on December 14th in the same room, December 14th.
Great, so thank you. I'm going to see.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, the mobile tours were very interesting, and we might give some thought for our group, and maybe in combination with the forum, to go visit some of the same places that we used for the mobile tour, just spend a day kind of in retreat.
Yeah.
But it was a great opportunity to see the South Shore facilities, the port, and some of the other projects going around there. There's a lot of our members who've never been to many of these places. And I confess, I was too busy to go on the port tour, and I'd love to go on that.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a great idea. And just to recap what Kevin is referring to, we did things very differently since it was our turn to host this year's MPO conference. We did things very differently and built pretty much the entire conference around mobile tour opportunities. So people got out and about seeing things like Kevin mentioned, the shops for NICD, Marquette Park. We had bike tours going to the dunes. We had all sorts of manner of things for people to be able to see what's going on in the port. And so not only did people get to learn from what you all have done here in Northwestern Indiana, but it really did give a good showcase to Northwest Indiana. And I think that's a great idea, is to try to figure out how to get folks on things.
I would add, I've been out to the port many times, but even before 911, it was a very secure facility. I was working out there, but we were escorted and watched when we were doing our work for whatever the client was out on the lake shore.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I'm sorry for jumping out of order. I'm going to skip back to number 2, which is public comment. And Jim Nowacki from Gary, Indiana, would like to speak about INDOT on the agenda.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President, members of the commission. My name is Jim Nowacki. I'm a resident of the city of Gary, and I address the NERC board because not only are you the planning organization, but I think you should also be part of considering the results of your planning. So it's not just you make a plan, but you should also be looking back at the plans that you made and the results of those plans. And I've appeared before the commission several times complaining about the results of the project on 12 and 20. I've identified many problems. Some of them were addressed, including signaling, signage, crossings, sidewalks, curbs, gutters, the grade, flooding, the early deterioration of the project, and some of those have been addressed, some of them, of course, have been ignored. We bring to the Commission's attention the condition of the intersection at 4th and Broadway, right outside our own City Hall, has deteriorated to such a state after only 3 years that it looks like it needs to be replaced. Of course, we're lucky that Highway 53 is the next project in our city, and that's going to, I hope they're going to redo that intersection as part of their project. I don't know if they will or not, but there are several problems that I've identified even as we're looking at the Route 53 project, looking at the results from the previous project and anticipating those same problems we had with 53. For instance, where the road went under a viaduct right at about 9th Avenue. I've got some pictures. I wish Mr. Powers was here. I'll share it with him next time. The flooding's so bad. This is part of the project. They just installed 4 new drains. And the flooding was so bad after the last rain, day after the rain, the water hadn't receded, that cars could not pass through, could not pass under where the viaduct was. In other words, the water was so deep, cars turned around to go around that section of State Highway. This is right after they had done all this work. So, seeing the problems we had in the last project, seeing the problems we're seeing going forward on this project, I have to bring it to the board's attention that this is unacceptable. At the city council meeting on Tuesday, the president of our council noticed this problem. He says he's wished he could be here today to address you, but he says he's going to follow up with a letter to the appropriate authorities, trying to understand why road work in our city is at such a low level compared to the road work being done very satisfactory in other communities, surrounding communities. So I'm going to remind the board that I've been complaining about that 12 and 20 project for years. Some of the projects have been, some of the problems have been addressed, some of them have been ignored. But I regret that I anticipate that just looking at the start of this project, the 53, they started the early summer. They've, I think, taken a hiatus and left the project unfinished. I don't know if they're going to finish it this year or not. But I just have to remind the board that I'm going to be here meeting after meeting after meeting, complaining about the poor quality of the work being done in our city, particularly as compared to the much more satisfactory work being done in surrounding communities. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you would, I actually had a meeting this week with representatives from NDOT, and one of the issues that was raised was some of the flooding, and we are actually coming up with a solution that will address those concerns. As it relates to the viaduct, the removed viaduct on Broadway, that is not complete. And as all of us saw during the rain it was an unprecedented rainfall. In fact, our sanitary district was able to process probably 20% more than their capacity put them at. And so the fact that it was, one, the work is not finished, and two, an unprecedented rainfall, and three, the water had in fact receded by the next day, is noteworthy. So I just wanted to kind of correct the record. And the last thing I would say is that the board president, the council president, did not indicate that he wanted to be here to complain about anything.
Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Finance and Personnel Committee. Mayor Freeman Wilson.
Okay, good morning again to the chair and members of the board. We have a few things to place before you. The first is procurements. The first procurement is number 1720, and that is the purchase of 6 vehicle replacements, 1 for North Township, I believe 2 for Opportunity Enterprises, and 1 for South County, but I want to get those so that we can be exact on that. Yeah, 3 for Opportunity Enterprises, I believe. So the total is $360,000. However, that's 80%. The 20% will be paid through the local organizations. Is there a motion? Oh, that's your job. Well, I'll make the motion. So I would like to make the motion that we approve procurement number 1720.
Second.
Great. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second is for procurement 1721, and that is the purchase of 1 transit support vehicle, which is a pickup truck for LaPorte Transport, and that is paid 80% out of grant IN 2017-28. And we're recommending that we purchase 1 vehicle with not to exceed $44,000 in federal funds. And I would move that we do so.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. There's one more.
The next matter, we have to let our very able council,
Albeit disabled.
Marshall Fiddler.
The pictures from Mount Everest were incredible.
The Finance and Personnel Committee is recommending the contract for legal services secured under procurement 1716. It is in your packet, pages 8 through 11. And what is notable about this is that generally under Indiana law, you can procure this as a professional service contract and there would not be an RFP process. But because of the federal relationship, there is an RFP process. There were 2 candidates. There was a scoring process, and as a result of this, we recommended that we retain the firm of Blakely Tabor and our current counsel, and I would move that that be done.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No? Great. Thank you.
That completes my report, Mr. Chair.
Wonderful, thank you. It's been brought to my attention that I skipped over number 3, which is the approval of the minutes of September 21st. You have received these electronically as well as in your packet. I would entertain a motion.
So move to approve.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you, and thank you for the tip. I was marking stuff up. Next on the agenda, I think, is the Environmental Management Policy Committee, which is on page 12. Those are the approved minutes from the September meeting. I hope you will read them. If you haven't already. And our next meeting is the first Thursday in November at 9 a.m. in this room. Anything to add, Kathy? No? Okay, great. Shooting for a record here. So Michael, the Technical Planning Committee, Kevin Brightsky.
The Technical Planning Committee met October 10th, and we heard a presentation on the increased mobility, accessibility goal of the 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan on ways to be proactive with the ADA in mind to incorporate total accessibility in planning and design. Zulia Alvarado of Causes for Change made the presentation. It's very worthwhile. There's some things we just have to be mindful of, observant of, that would make all of our lives a lot easier and would also help the ADA community. Staff gave an update on the application for the Tiger Grant for the Marquette Greenway. Stevens Staceric will report on the public comment report for fiscal year 2018-2021, amendment number 4, found on pages, and I just have XX.
16-7.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You'll see there in your packet, and also was sent out to you when the packet was sent out and posted. It was also included in there. You'll see on pages 16 and 17, public comment report for amendment number 4 to the 2018 to 2021 Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. Just a reminder, this is a minor amendment, and our public participation plan outlines that for minor amendments, a comment period of 7 calendar days or 5 business days is required. So in this case, a comment period was begun on October 3rd, ended on October 9th. The amendment was made available on our website, and the public comment report is there as well. Just a quick, like you see there, we received 1 public comment regarding some concerns with the outreach process for this amendment, and some questions regarding looking at the impacts of these projects with the communities, where these projects are located. Just a reminder, keep in mind that these projects are already included in the Transportation Improvement Program, and as part of the process of adopting a new TIP, We do a 30-day public comment period with public meetings. In this case, I believe there were 5 public meetings. We also produced a public comment report for that, and this was back in May of this year. So just to, and then some other points were addressed in there, so you can go ahead and read that at your leisure, but they were not exactly pertinent to the amendment itself. So just as far as the process for the actual items in the amendment, just wanted to make that clear that these have gone, especially, you know, a couple of these, if you look at the numbers, this is not the first tip they've appeared in, so they've gone through that 30-day public comment period a couple times. So
For this report, we don't require any action, but if you want to do any discussion or bring questions to staff at a later date, please do. There is one action for consideration today, Resolution 1722, the 4th amendment to the fiscal year 2018-2021 Transportation Improvement Program. And that's found on pages 18 to 21. And I don't see Mitch here today, so Stephen's going to be Mitch. And he's going to explain this action.
So as I said, this is a minor amendment to the TIP. You'll see it is mainly just changing years for the different phases. So just, you know, moving where these phases fall in the Transportation Improvement Program. I just want to point out the only one that is not changing a year for the phase is the Maryville Signal Preemption Project. Basically, what's happening there is originally there were 2 phases in 2 different years. There's a phase 1 and phase 2. They were in 2 different years. The phase 1 and phase 2 are now being combined into 1 year. So it says they're increased awards, and it's not new money, it's just increasing the award in that particular program for that particular year, because I believe it was 2019 and 2020, and so now that 2020 money is being moved into 2019, so it increases the amount that's in 19, but it's just shifting from 1 year to the other. So that's what that is, and other than that, I can attempt to answer any questions.
So if this is going to clarify, I believe you have the same thing copied twice in your packet, but it should only be the one
Yes.
page. So it's just, we get double the fun. Right. When you're Chicago. Go once.
The Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of Resolution 1722.
Is there a motion from the executive board?
So moved on 1722.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go.
The next meeting of the Technical Planning Committee will be December 5th, 2017, at 9 a.m. in this room. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is NDOT Rick Powers. Would you care to?
Sure, yeah, I'm sorry Rick couldn't be here today. The only thing he really was going to present to the board was, we wanted to let everybody know we had another instance of highway lighting wire theft again. So we are working to combat that as best we can, but one of the big things we wanted to make sure everyone knew is that we wanted to warn them, and they're obviously the local police departments keep on the lookout, that they may be targeting the local highway lighting as well. So we are still evolving on ways to combat this through Indiana State Police, local police, and ourselves. In addition to that, we have been changing out our wiring to aluminum, which is helping in some instances, but basically we're doing that as we're able to. So there are still other ones that are not aluminum out there. So more of a warning to everyone else to help spread the word to your local police departments and make sure everybody's on the lookout. We've been successful in that when we've caught people before, it stopped for quite some time. So typically it's 1 or 2 people doing the same thing. Once someone is caught, it stops for a while and then it starts back up 6-8 months later. So if you have any questions, let me know. But beyond that, we appreciate you guys helping to get the word out.
Thank you. Other business? Is there other business?
Is there going to be a meeting of the legislative committee?
Not that I'm aware of, and with Blair having been changed, I forget who that.
Blair and Tom.
Yeah, Tom McDermott.
McDermott.
So,
Well, with the General Assembly coming up, would be a good idea.
we can relay that to the chair, and again, that committee is on kind of on demand, on call versus a regular scheduled meeting. So we'll convey that, or feel free to contact the chair to suggest that.
Mr. Chairman, in light of the discussion earlier on the drainage, just a reminder, the cities do a good job of collecting leaves and debris and that kind of thing. But it's helpful if the communities, all the people, help keep the grades clear of debris. On our new construction sites, it's inevitable that we'll have construction debris, straw and the like, maybe even some wrappers for things that will block these things. It sounds so simple, but blockage rather than drainage is often our biggest issue, particularly at this time of year in the fall. So try to go out with a rake and please keep your drains clear. It helps all of us.
Thank you. Something that I would like to announce is that Justin Keel has offered, from La Crosse, has offered to represent us on the NARC board for District 6. He's going to attend the NARC Board of Directors meeting and be voted on. He's replacing Blair Milo, who had that position. The recent history of that was David Schaefer, when he moved up into the leadership, Kathy Kroback replaced him. Then I replaced Kathy Kroback. Now I moved into the leadership. Blair Milo replaced me, and now she has moved on, and Justin has agreed to do that for us. So next week he will be joining us and be elected on that board. So, any other business? Announcements.
Gene Everly Parade of Lights will take place November 18th at 7 p.m. And I thank Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson and Ty Warner and Michael Griffin, who have been judges of that. I am short one judge, so if anybody else would like to judge that for me, I'd welcome anybody that's interested in that.
Hot chocolate is great.
And also, I'm going to put a plug in for Valpo. Valpo Chamber of Commerce has a business expo tonight at the Portage Fairgrounds. So if you're interested in knowing what's going on in Portage, since my daughter lives, in Valpo, my daughter lives there, so I'll probably attend that also tonight.
That's going to be a Porter County Expo.
Yes.
Okay. Any other announcements? Wow. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Welcome, Michael.